Dear Laura, by the time you read this, it will be the year 2030, a year in which all people have equal opportunities, access to food, clean water and energy. We are all healthy and thousands of species on our planet are saved from extinction. That is what some grown-ups say. But today, almost 10 years apart, I wonder how we can accomplish that. My mom says there is a good chance to make it happen. If we all learn how to take the green path to a more sustainable way of living. If we embrace the know-how of experts, students, teachers, and society, and we connect it to real people's needs. If we mix disciplines, people, and ideas, we design technology and combine resources to solve challenges with love and creativity. If people go beyond borders to learn and work in cooperation with others, celebrating diversity and inclusiveness. My mom is a scientist and says,
all these transformations have started, and I want to be part of it. That is why I will study to become an engineer in 2030. An ELISA engineer.
Good morning to all. Two artists have put together this promotional video, meeting storytelling and technology. So Yolanda P. Vidal, communication director of ELISA, and the animation artist and computer science Carmen Cordova have put this video for us. So this video brings us the voice of a young girl that dreams to become an European engineer, is opening this roundtable for us today. But what does it mean for a girl to become a woman in science? What are the challenges and the opportunities that are waiting for her? These are questions that are on the table every day. But today, as we are celebrating the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, they take a special momentum. Welcome to all, to Women That Make Science Happen, an ELISA and EELISA InnoCORE Roundtable. I'm Sofia Daguiar, I'm Portuguese, I'm mother of 3 children, I'm also a civil engineer. I've been specializing in soil mechanics during my PhD, and after working many years in France in the innovation and research field, I'm actually executive director for ELISA, which is the Alliance of European Engineering, Learning and Innovation and Science Alliance. Today I greet you from Politécnica de Madrid, which is the coordinating university of the Alliance. So it is really an honor for me to share the floor with our 8 panelists, 8 women professionals from 6 countries, and also with Dr. Maria Rantezzi that will be moderating the session today with me. Some words to present Maria today. She's head of the chair of Science, Technology and Gender Studies at the Friedrich Alexander University in Germany. And Maria has recently joined FIU, and her research work is on the intersection of science and technology studies, nuclear diplomacy, and gender. She has a really wide international record of professional experiences, of awards, scholarships, author of many books, and it's an honor for us to welcome her today to help us to moderate this important and relevant discussion of us. Maria, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Many thanks from my part as well. A very, very warm welcome to this panel, EELISA roundtable today on women who make science happen. As we celebrate, Sophia already told us, we celebrate the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. My name is Maria Renteggi. I have been professor at the FAU. I'm new in ELISA as well as I'm new at the FAU, but I'm really honored to moderate today this exciting panel of women and bring up some voices, some women voices in science and technology. Usually universities remember women in the sciences this day, the International Day for Women and Girls in Science. ELISA does the same. We are not different in this, but we are very different in other respects, because we really want to bring this topic at the heart of the discussion about the future of engineer, how the engineer is going to look like in 2030, for example, as the video showed us a few minutes ago. So for us, it's very important to bring the issue of gender and diversity at the heart of ELISA discussion, and not only at the heart of our own universities, and open up new spaces, new narratives, as we are going to discuss today. I'd like also to welcome and thank all of you that from the comfort of your homes and your offices, you are with us today. We have, as I can see now, we have more than 70 participants, and we are expecting more. A bit of housekeeping before we start. We have planned 4 sessions, inviting 4 couples of women engineers and scientists to talk to us and share with us their experiences. As Sophia already told us, they have different backgrounds. They come from different geographical locations, and they have very different career trajectories, all of them. We plan to dedicate 15 minutes for each couple. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to count the time here. I have my, I'm sorry, it's not very obvious. I have my clip sheet, my device, let's say here. But we also have the ELISA team that is going to help us moderate time. Feel free to ask questions through the chat. Sophia is going to wrap up the session today and bring some of these questions at the end and open the floor and hear your voices as well, and not only our voices and the voices of the panelists. So also, if you want to tweet about what you are hearing today and what is happening in our ELISA roundtable, please do so and help ELISA to get out there, to get out the very important message about the need for gender and diversity in our universities, and not only there. So we are going to get underway now, and to provide some context in our discussion today, we are going to be asking several questions, our panelists, throughout this morning. And I'd like to start with what I think it's a very central question in our discussion. What have been the challenges that women faced in a science career? I guess we all have experiences, and we can bring our own perspective on this. What I want to ask the panelists today is to do exactly this, to share with us personal experiences. Usually women's voices are not heard. And when we share experiences, we are characterized as sensitive, not reasonable, and all this. So I want to use this panel today to bring up these voices, of course, not only the personal experiences, but try to understand what these experiences mean about the future and our position in academia. So to answer this first question, I want to invite Irina Severin, Professor and Vice Dean of the Faculty of Industrial Engineering and Robotics at the Polytechnic University of Bucharest in Romania, and also Sara Mokia, Assistant Professor at the Biorobotics Institute and at the Department of Excellence in Robotics and Artificial Intelligence of Scuola Superiore Santa Anna in Italy. So very welcome, warm welcome to both of you. And let me start with Irina. Irina, as I did with everyone today in our panel, I went through your CV. I was astonished with what you have been doing and your focus on internationalization and mobility. I think you have been doing this for the last at least 20 years. So I want to ask you why? Why mobility? Why internationalization? And what this has to do with gender? Why has it been important for your own personal career? But also, do you think that this makes a difference for women in the sciences? The floor is to you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you, Sophia, and thank you, Sarah, for being together for this minute. In 2022, I celebrate 35 years since I've graduated Polytechnica University of Bucharest as engineer. The first study visit was in Germany, in the Technical University of Dresden, for visits in factories, Carl Zeiss Jena, Meissen, Gentronics. Then I worked in the computer factory Brest, and then I've started my PhD on the topics of metal matrix composites. In this framework, I had the opportunity to be involved in an European project together with University Louvain-la-Neuve from Belgium, with a mobility period for research in École Centrale de Lyon, where I have learned a lesson. In composite materials, you get optimized properties from the connection between the elements and not from the elements themselves. So you have to step what happens in between these components and to go very deep into microstructure to understand the phenomena. The most challenging project from my life happened in parallel with my PhD, and that was maternity. And I'm very grateful for that. When I've visited my obstetrician for my regular monitoring, she used to ask me, hello, how does your science progress? And this was a joke for me, simply in order to release my pressure, because I was very devoted and committed to the tangible result of the thesis. The next step was a period of 13 years when I've taught in France 3 months per year. And I dedicated to research on optical fibers. And in this period, I have learned another lesson. Optimized properties of optical fibers are obtained through aging. So you are more available when you are able to boost what research learns you. Documentation, analysis, experimental campaign, testing, interpretation of results, extrapolation, modeling. So that's why, because mobility for me was the opportunity to be in other environments, to have different experiences, to meet people, to be enriched with different skills, more flexibility, more resilience, more courage, more self-confidence. So I opened in the Faculty of Industrial Engineering and Robotics more opportunity for mobility for students. And in the last 6 years, we increased the number of incoming students in the study program Industrial Engineering from 8 students to 100 before the pandemic and 60 during the pandemic. And this is something great because the environment changed, because professors are motivated, more motivated with this heterogeneous environment, with girls and boys coming from different countries with different culture. So these are the benefits, and I Definitely, yes, mobility, even if sometimes it's difficult, allows you more flexibility, more resilience, more opening. So cooperation and mobility, for me, were the key. And I strongly encourage all the students, boys and girls, to use this great.
Thank you, Irina. You just said that mobility sometimes is difficult, and I want to ask Sarah about this. I went through your own CV. I realized that you have been extremely mobile.
Yeah.
You have done all of your studies in different universities. You have been in different environments throughout your career till now. Has mobility been difficult for you or an advantage? How do you feel about this issue?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure being here with all of you. And to answer your question, I changed my mind several times. So I'm quite young, I'm 31. I started moving when I was 18, because I moved from this small town in southeast of Italy to reach Milan, which is like the biggest city in Italy. And there I did my bachelor and master of science in biomedical engineering. Then I moved to another city, the Italian Institute of Technology, where I did my PhD. During my PhD, I spent 6 months in Germany, in Heidelberg, in a really nice team of biomedical engineers and computer scientists. Then I went back to Italy and moved to a university in Ancona, where actually I met my husband. Then I moved to Portugal, even though virtually due to the pandemic condition. And then 1 year ago, I got this position as assistant professor at the Biorobotics Institute of Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna. So at the beginning, I was scared of traveling, but then as Irina said, this is really an opportunity to meet new people and also to learn and get in touch with other modality of thinking. And this is really true traveling in Italy, in Europe, and so on and so forth. So at the beginning, it was just an adventure. And during all this path, I realized somehow I had this feeling of being part of a sort of minority of, you know, girls and women in engineering. This was somehow true during my bachelor, master, and PhD. So we had more or less 50% of boys and 50% of girls. Then moving to the postdoc, things started to change. So we were like 20% girls and 80% boys. And things got worse at the faculty level. So now I'm in a faculty where we are 25, 27 more or less, with only 3 women. And I don't know why this is happening. And also Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna is working a lot through its gender equality plan to understand why this is happening. My personal view in this sense is that somehow you become a member of a faculty at more or less my age, where usually women, at least in Italy or in Europe on average, want to have children or feel that this is the time to have children. At least this is how I feel now. But as Irina was saying, sometimes it's difficult because you have to manage all the things, and this should not be only up to us. So the organizations, both national and international, should somehow think about how to solve these issues. We, of course, do not want to have fast lines. We are all women engineers, researchers. So we want to be challenged, let's say so, in our research. But I think that having more facilities, maybe a solution, facilities, I don't know, in terms of nursery or in terms of more flexibility, because I think that it should not be up to the single woman or to the single researcher to find out the way of being both professor or researcher or engineer and mother. So it should not be only up to us, but we should have, first of all, role models, and Irina is one role model for me, and that's, again, it's one of the nicest things of this roundtable. But second of all, we should have someone to talk with at high institutional level to let these aspects emerge.
Thank you, Sarah. We are going to come up to these issues at the end of the panel and touch on issues that have to do with the structure of our universities and how we can actually facilitate this kind of combination between professional and personal life. But if I may, and I think we have the time, I'd like to address a question to both of you. How can women help each other? We have Irina with all this experience and working as an engineer. We have Sarah as a newcomer, let's say, in academia. How do you think that, and maybe this is a question more about Irina, how do you think that we can help younger women to actually combine both professional and personal life in academia?
I think that if women really have the will to dedicate to research, to teaching, they fulfill certainly. So I supported many students, many colleagues to balance the time. So in fact, you need the time, you need the energy. And the fact that you have results and that you notice that the others are more confident in themselves, they are more courage, they are very analytical and they work hard, they are supported. In our faculty, we are balanced. I think that now we are nearly 30–40% of women as academic staff. And in the administration, I think that 20–30%. So even if 6 years ago, I was the first woman as vice dean in this faculty, in the history of this faculty, history of more than 50 years in this faculty, now we are 2 vice deans. So the community is more open for women, but I think that women should work hard and should be very committed and very devoted for what they do. And if you do with passion, for sure, you are rewarded with results. I supported all the students, all the girls with different internships in the faculty, and I supported them to have mobility because mobility supports you to be more confident and to have a dedicated time to focus on the work. And when you are at home, even if you are a young mother, it's difficult to share. It's difficult to get from a task to another one. But if you have a mobility period, you are focused on what you do, you are focused on the results, and that you see immediately a next step.
Thanks, Irina. From our discussion, there are 2 things that I want to keep before we move on. I want to keep what you just described, the network, the supportive network that women should create within academia. This is what I think you have been describing all this time. And the fact that women have to be at higher academic positions and administrative positions so as to be able to open the door for the younger ones. And also what Sarah mentioned before, that we really need, what you said, facilities, I would say different structures within our universities that can support women when they become mothers or when they have other issues throughout their lives. So many thanks for this. And let me move quickly to the next panel because I see Yolanda is complaining about the 2 minutes delay that we are already having.
Thank you.
Many thanks.
And thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. we are now move to a different topic, although very closely connected to what we have already been discussing. What does it mean to be a female student in the sciences today? And in order to answer this question, we have two of our panelists today. Solène Dimay, I have to say that my French is absolutely awful, so I apologize for the way I pronounce your name. We have Romane Boutillier and Solène Dimay. I think Solène is here. Thank you very much for coming and joining.
You're muted, Maria, sorry. You were muted for like 1 minute.
Okay, I guess this happened automatically, right? Because I haven't changed anything. So then let me say again that I want to welcome Solène Dimay. Solène is senior consultant at a consultancy agency and an engineer graduated from Mines Paris. And Romain Boutillier is our youngest, let's say, panelist for today. Romain is still a PhD student at the École de Pont Paris Tech. Solène, you have been a co-founder of a network of women engineers while you were a student, something that doesn't happen very often. And you have also studied science and technology studies with a focus on innovation, something that of course attracted my attention to your background. And it seems that you have a very interdisciplinary background in the sciences. So I'd like to ask you to share with us a little bit more about your experiences as a student and now as a consultant, to tell us a little more about this kind of work. And how do you think that networking, because it seems that you have been focusing a lot on networking, how do you think that networking has helped you in your career?
Thanks a lot, Maria, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. I'm Solène Dimay. Indeed, I was a student at Mines Paris Tech from 2014 to 2018. So it was a while ago, and I'm going to talk from my experience, but hopefully maybe it has changed meanwhile. Back in 2014, actually, we were 20% female students at Mines Paris Tech, so just a fifth. And I also had the occasion to do an exchange abroad at MIT in the US, and there it was a pure 50-50. So I had two very different experiences, and of course I think it's also depending on the way you hire your students somehow, because in France it's based on an exam, and in the US they also have quotas. So of course it's a different selection process, and maybe it explains a bit why. But maybe a quick stories from those days at my engineering school. And also it was before all of the Me Too and maybe a raise in the awareness in between. So hopefully it has changed a bit, because those facts are a bit negative, if I may. So first, coming from the professors, very first class of computer science, they were explaining that we would have 6 groups. The group 1 would be the better one, and the sixth one would be the one with maybe more difficulties. And before even we passed the test, because it was a written test for us to be split in different groups, he mentioned, yes, so the group 6 is the group for female students. And it was so shocking, because what would you tell yourself if you're about to write the text and someone is telling you, oh, so female students are supposed to be in the less advanced group. So first, that was very shocking, but at the same time, it was also coming from the student side, because we had a lot of traditions in the school, and one of the tradition, for example, was to sing some kind of sexist songs. And so when you integrate a school, and that, the kind of integration traditions are sexist, and you hear words you don't really find respectful, it's also asking yourself question. And because you are a minority, like only 20%, it's also hard to say, okay, is it normal? Is it not? What should I do to integrate? Should I say something? Yeah, so you ask questions. And maybe a last not so fun fact. We had a selection process for me to be able to do the exchange program with MIT. And one of my good friends said to me, yeah, you got selected because they had to send a girl. And, you know, all of those little things, somehow it was not that easy as an engineering student. So that's why I decided
I'm glad you call them little things.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit hard, and so we decided with actually a male student to co-founder a club, a student club, to raise awareness about gender equality issues, and maybe to give a bit of food for thought for the other students and the professor. And so the goal of the club was to organize conferences or trainings for students to be ready for the next step of their career, because also we were thinking, well, if it's so in the engineering school, what will it be tomorrow for our careers, and how will the mentalities evolve? We were not sure. So that was kind of one of the goal of the club. The club was at the beginning not so much welcomed. We had, so why are you creating the club? We don't need it, etc. So that was not easy neither. But I think at the end, it's we had the first conference and the first training, and so we could give a bit of input for the students. And I was very happy to see that the club has been passed by, and now it still exists at the school. They switched the name, but and they're making their own club within it and taking it forward. So it's
amazing effort. Amazing effort.
Yeah, it's very positive.
Thank you. Let me turn to Romain at this point, because I think she can relate very well to what you just said. So what about you, Romain? What is your experience in academia until now? I saw that you have started with mathematics and physics, and then you turned to civil engineering and architecture. Why did you choose these other fields instead of physics and mathematics? We are used to think that physics is the hard science. So is this a reason?
Okay, so I think first when I was maybe 16, I wanted to do architecture, but I still really liked math, so I wanted to continue both. And then I did this preparation in math and physics because I wanted to enter the school then I went to, who offered a double degree in civil engineering and architecture. So it was a way to combine both. So that's what I did. And just to give some more figures, in engineering school, there was like a quarter of women, and in architecture school, it was more half and half. And in the double degree, it was also half and half. So and this was not only for my promotion, it was for over several years. So maybe the artistic part is attracting more women. I don't know. So yeah. Then I continued in civil engineering. I did 2 years in architecture, but I'm not an architect. I decided to focus more on civil engineering, and I want to distinguish 3 fields in civil engineering. So we can say there is work on the construction sites, in a design office, and there is research. So I'm in research. So I briefly know the other 2 fields. So in construction, women are still underrepresented, and some friends told me that the sexist remarks, that they come not only from the workers, like we can imagine, but also and mostly from the hierarchy. So it's not something that is totally absent of the intellectual positions, if we want to say
this. Is this the reason that you decided to do research instead of go on the other directions?
No, I think doing research. So I did just 1 year in the design office, and I liked it, but I wanted to do more science. And I think the working on specific projects with a time limit and a certain budget, it was not for me. So I decided to do research. And then in my research, I'm dragging more and more math to it. And this is maybe a way to prove myself I can do it. I'm not sure about how to interpret it, but yeah, in my lab, so there are some female researchers and female PhD students, but they are mostly working on life cycle analysis and on timber construction, which I can identify as so environment related subjects. So maybe a more female subject, like we can see in some research like biology or chemistry, whereas men are more doing pure mechanics and coding and this type, and concrete printing, which is very fashionable at this time. And I'm the only one doing geometry in the team. And I checked on the website of the team, and I've been the only PhD student in this field for at least 10 years, I guess. So yeah, I really evolved in the masculine environment, but I don't think I had to face challenges. Like I didn't identify like obstacles for me doing this. Is more I feel that I decided to go in this field maybe to prove something, I don't know, but I didn't have to face any.
But this is very optimistic indeed. I mean, we usually hear stories which are like Solène stories, right?
Yeah.
I'm very happy and I'm very glad to hear that you don't feel the challenges that the others have felt.
I feel I'm lucky. I feel I've been protected for some reason. I don't know, because I heard like lots of friends at school and in research, I heard lots of terrible things. And yes, I just feel that I'm happy, but it also means that maybe things are changing, and in some teams, maybe there are some good behaviors too. So yeah, it gives hope. But, yeah.
I'm wondering what is coming next for you. I mean, what is your expectations? Let's say that you are in an environment which sounds like very women-friendly, or at least somehow women-friendly. What is coming next for you?
I don't know.
What are your expectations as a young woman in the field? What is your expectation?
I think I integrated the fact that I will still evolve in a male environment, and that's like being underrepresented. I don't know. That means I have to fight for the next generations to encourage young women to do science and to promote the representation of women. Like I wanted, for example, to change the names of the rooms in the school so that we know female scientists, to give some more scientists with women students.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this? What do you mean the names of the rooms?
Okay, just in the school I realized there are only the names of the amphitheaters and of the rooms are only male names. And I think we don't know enough about female scientists, but there are some, and we don't know them. So then we can't just say, okay, I can be the next one doing some crazy invention. So that's why some, and then we don't know female professor, so we don't apply to this job, and we don't think we can do it. We don't think we can manage being a mother and a professor, but this roundtable shows that it's possible, so it's good news. But so yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to do in my school, and maybe that ELISA can do, like encourage schools to name the biggest amphitheater of the school with a female name. I don't know.
Thanks, Romain. So Len, what is your position in this? Having your experience of being outside academia now and working in a different environment, how do you think about all this? Is it different now?
I think it's different challenges, but it's still not perfect. My precise experience now is that the more in the upper in the hierarchy you go, the less female you find, and that's also go with this role model thing Roman was mentioning. So seeing women on top also gives you the motivation to yourself project yourself and do projects. So it's a bit different as I'm still at a junior level. I mean, it's only a 3-year professional experience, and at that level, it's about a 50-50. And I think there are no difference in the way we work, and we all have the same expectations. But the management position and the direction position are still very male oriented. So I think we still face challenges, because why do you lose half of your talents within 10 years? So I think that's a shame for the company, because the company loses half of its talent, and I think it's quite true within the business world as a whole. So that maybe to come quickly back to this networking thing, it's also why I'm keeping busy with female networks and female networking events, just like this one, actually, somehow, because actually meeting other women and getting inspired and exposed to different profiles can be your own source of motivation, and having a bit of a broader picture of what's happening. And maybe a second point it gives you, it's that you're aware of what's ahead, with maybe informal tips and advices that you can keep in mind. And as a third point, and I'm stopping there, you benefit from trainings and maybe speed networking or work seminars. So it gives you maybe tips and way to be better, your better self, that maybe a male colleague would have acquired differently by confidence within his childhood, or whatever bias you can have in education in terms of confidence, for just to give one example.
Yes. Absolutely. I keep this point that you brought up, both of you. It's very important, again, and I think this comes up again in this panel. It's very important to have a supportive network within our professions. And also it's very important to change the structure of our institutions, either universities or like the consultancy business that you are working on right now. So many thanks to both of you, and let me quickly move to the next panel, and also change a little bit our focus. Until now, we have been questioning the challenges that women have faced throughout their careers in the sciences. I now want to explore new narratives. It seems that we absolutely need new narratives if we want to have more women in academia, more girls in the sciences, and if we want to have not only women, but diversity within our academic institutions. So how can we prompt new narratives to attract more women and girls in the sciences? And I want to underline these girls, because today, let me remind you that it's also the International Day for Girls in Sciences. To respond to these questions, I want to invite now Sonia Roig, Director of the International School of Doctorate at the Polytechnic in Madrid, and now Laura Somovico, a PhD student in astrophysics at Scuola Normale Superiore in Pisa. And as we say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So please, Laura, share with us the very beautiful pictures of Sonia's book. The title of Sonia's book is The Forest is Our Home. As I understand, it came out just this year, 2022, and the main character in this book is Sylvia, a little girl who knows a lot about forests. Sonia is a forestry engineer herself. So Sylvia guides us in a journey through forests around the world and shows us more than 180 species of animals and plants. In Sonia's words, this is a best-selling book for moms who want to inspire their young girls. And I really enjoyed the graphics in your book. I was excited to learn about this book. The existence of these books is only in Spanish, but I think there are plans to translate this in English as well, and maybe to include this in our ELISA teaching material, and why not? So what I want to ask Sonia is, why a book? You are an academic, you are an engineer, So why a children's book?
Thank you for your words and your the introducing the book and myself. Well, and I have to say that this beautiful, I think, beautiful illustrated book is thanks to my colleague Sara Fernandez, is the main writer and the one that make all the illustration. That she is also a forestry engineering. And this is why we had this project that we have dedicated 2.5 years to do something about the dissemination of our experience as forestry techniques and researchers. We both work as a technician, but also as researchers in forest science. And from our field, from forestry, but also from this approach to science, we thought that we need to do something, this dissemination to general public, and especially to these young girls, because we all know, I think, that the decision about getting close to science or STEM vocation is made when girls are very young. I mean, sometimes when they are 6, 7 years old is when they decide, especially girls, children in general, but especially girls, that they are smart enough to get to these fields. So, as I said, from the forestry sector, but also from the science sector, we thought that we need to reach to this general public and to reach children, and to then also reach to the families to explain the importance of forest. I mean, this book is about forest, but also the importance of science, and to make clear that girls and women can do anything they want to do. And as you see the book, I have the book here. I don't know if you can see it, or just I'm going to take my the letters out, but I will show some pictures where Sylvia.
Laura has already shown us pictures, so yes, don't worry about the pictures. We've seen the graphics.
Yes, but just to, I want to show you some more images, and as you can see in here, just now you can see it. Okay, this is the book. We decided to about different strategies to get this goal. First of all, as you can see, Sylvia is female, is a girl. Even when books, we know that books about adventure or science and things like that, the bestsellers are the ones where a boy is the main character. This is a girl, this is Sylvia. We also, as the panelist that spoke before, we need reference, female reference, and this is what we try to do here when we put some scientists that are the same number of girls and women, or men and women, and so it's something that we make clear that the women scientists are there, have been there forever, and we know all his work. And Sylvia, as you have seen there, Sylvia can do, or the girl, the scientist can do anything. She can, we have so that she can make studies on good structures, or she can do, I don't know, many things. And
I think two things. This is the disadvantage of Zoom, that we cannot really see this very beautiful illustrated material. And the second thing that I want to say, and we have already discussed somehow, is that we definitely need another roundtable to present this book, because it's an excellent example of what we can do and what kind of stereotypes, new stereotypes, I could call them not stereotypes, but new narratives that we can create for girls in the sciences. And I want very quickly to turn to Sonia now. Sonia, you have found a different way to disseminate these new narratives that we want to create. Can you tell us a little bit more about this project, the outreach project that you have, the Inspira?
About the book, you say? Or?
I'm sorry, I was talking to Laura. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was talking to Laura. And I'll
Yeah.
come back to you if we have time at the end and ask you a couple of questions as well, because the book is really amazing.
Thank you.
So, Laura.
Yeah, I actually, I'm going to repeat some of the things that were already said by Sonia and also by Roman and other people involved in the chat. So some really crucial points that we mentioned about motivating women and girls in doing science, I think, is providing representation and identification for young girls. One of the questions that you, Maria, yourself asked Roman was if she was motivated in doing, she was more motivated in doing physics or mathematics because she felt it was more difficult, or if she felt like changing to engineering, if the reason was related to the difficulty of the field. And I think that this is really a crucial point, because whereas for some people, independently on gender, difficulty can be actually a motivating aspect of a field. So something that makes them want to do something because they feel it's valuable and interesting. It can be discouraging for others. And I think this might be more true for girls than for boys, because we know that there are more issues in terms of insecurities and in terms of awareness and confidence for girls rather than boys. So with our project Inspira, which is the one that Maria was mentioning, we, with other two PhD students here at Scuola Normale, we decided to come up with a practical idea to try to tackle the problem of the lack of females in STEM. In particular, giving some numbers here at SNL, the years in the entrance exam, so prior to the exam, only 20% of the applicants for scientific topics were females, meaning that even if they were to do perfectly in the exam, still we would be underrepresented in the science fields in this university. And the fact that girls don't even feel like applying really shows that this problem is much broader and in the society. So in fact, we have also noticed that even outside of our single university, within Italy, it's still true that in STEM fields, most of the people that get a degree are actually males, with again an 80% versus 20% percentage. So it's a really, really huge discrepancy. So our idea, which is related to what Sonia was saying, to really go at the origin of the problem and really speak to young students, was to do a divulgation program for middle schoolers. So basically people around 13-year-olds of age, which is an age which is, I think maybe we all remember, it's a very difficult age because it's the moment when basically gender starts to become an issue. So really boys and girls become different, start noticing differences between one another. And also maybe it's the time where some insecurities that are related to this can start to show. And this is also a very sensitive age because most of the orientation program from universities don't actually talk to these young students because clearly they are very far from the decision that they will make in university. But with my friends and colleagues with which we have been writing this project, we really think that this is an important time to speak about the importance of science or to leave a seed in the students to think about as an interesting topic. And related to the difficulty of the topic, which I was mentioning before, we have tried to do divulgation in a slightly different way. So all the people involved in the project are female researchers and female PhD students, and they will be the speakers in the classes. So first of all, by doing these lessons, by making them, by making all the speakers female, we will provide a representation and identification for the young girls, and also normalize the idea of females doing scientific research for both the males and the boys, both the boys and the girls in the classes. And on top of that, we have organized a masterclass with an actress and expert in communication for all the speakers to try to make sure that our lessons in the classes are really, the main focus is really on how cool is science, apart from all the difficulties and all the mathematics and all the numbers and all maybe the cold figures that one can imagine when thinking of science. There's so much more behind it. There's so much fantasy, there's a lot of art in science, there's a lot of really exciting stuff, which is what maybe, at least for me, what makes me excited in my own job every day. And our idea was to try to communicate this and try to let young students see this before they are discouraged by all the amount of study and difficulties that these fields involve.
Laura,
So
I keep your point, really very important point, that you are trying to say how cool science is at the same time that we are saying and we are hearing from everywhere that science can be very hard, especially for women and girls. How can, and this is a question to both of you, if you can respond very quickly, how can we balance these two different aspects of science, being cool and at the same time being so hard for women? Is there any way we can do this? And I recognize that we need a separate roundtable to discuss this kind of issues and the new narratives. Sonia?
I think that we had to, from a scientific vocation and dealing with this passion of anyone, especially girls, and make them, encourage them to follow their, I don't know, anything that they want to do, and knowing that, as I think every career can be very difficult, especially because this is a very competitive career also.
Laura?
I would say that basically I agree with Sonia. So we have to really increase the excitement at the beginning, so show how exciting science is, and this is part of the project, but also by reducing maybe the difficulties with like a dedicated work from people in the higher hierarchy of universities, we can make sure that all this excitement doesn't go to waste, so it's not lost along the way during the career of people because of difficulties that we face. So just keep the excitement that we all have maybe at the beginning. I'm speaking as a PhD student. I'm still at the beginning of my career. I'm excited. I'm really excited about my job. And I hope I will keep this excitement.
Thank you for sharing this optimism. Really, thank you for sharing this. And let me quickly move to the last panel we have for today, the last couple. And we need to touch now a very difficult issue. I think that that's the heart of the whole issue. University structures and I think open science are a couple of issues that are at the heart of our discussion. Do we really have tools to transform our universities? And to answer this question, I want to invite Borbala Singh, Chief European Research Funding Advisor at the Budapest University of Technology, and Burgu Bulut, Technical Services Librarian at Istanbul Technical University. Borbala, I was looking through your own CV and I realized that you have been very much involved in changing your university, I could say completely. You are the chief of the task force that proposed the new plan, gender equity plan. You are one that is still responsible for the implementation of this plan. So let us know more about this. And why did you take these responsibilities?
Thank you very much for this kind introduction, Maria. And thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me and also for the great discussion we have had so far. I am, as the Chief European Research Funding Advisor, I am basically responsible for the Horizon Europe support portfolio. And in that position, combining that expertise, I was assigned to lead the task force that, like, it was a small task force that was kind of the engine behind the preparation of the gender equality plan. But we, as a small task force comprising of 3 members, we enjoyed the greatest commitment of the university leadership up to the level of the rectorate. And we were the group who engaged with the stakeholders in the university throughout the months of the preparation of the gender equality plan. So basically, we were responsible for engaging the university community. We were responsible for the preparation of the text, and but it wasn't without any advancement, because the university already had an equal opportunities plan, so we were kind of lucky in that sense. And we already had some data gathered on the male-female ratios of the university from different aspects. So basically, we wanted to, in this process that led to the preparation and the adoption of the gender equality plan, we wanted to understand what the situation is in the university. We wanted to reflect to that. And also we wanted to find the areas that need some improvement, and also the areas that are already working, but needs maybe some scaling up or some promotion university-wide. So, and it was very interesting for us, because throughout this process that lasted for months, we actually discovered a lot of hidden treasures, like great initiatives that were already happening on the level of the faculties, or some inter-faculty initiatives, as we are quite a huge university with more than like 1,200 academic staff and 20,000 students. Of course, it was very easy to not to find these initiatives, and it was very, very rewarding for us to see that there are already things happening in this sense, and now we just have to connect the dots, and we have to promote these initiatives on the university level as well, and to scale them up. So in December 2021, the Senate of the university, the highest governing body, basically adopted the gender equality plan, and now we are working on its implementation, because gender equality plans can only work if they do not stay as like document which is fancy and great and identifies all the key intervention areas and activities, but they just become a real living document, a real living attitude changing document of the university. So now,
I love this characteristic. I love this characteristic. I think we have to adopt this way of describing this kind of plans. Let me move quickly to Burcu, and I'll come back to you again at the end. Burcu, you have been advocating open science. As a librarian, I can see that you have been very active within the Turkish community of librarians, within your own university. Why open science? Why should we care about open science, especially women? Why should they care about open science?
Thank you for your question. I am happy to be here and to be able to bring the subject of open science to the agenda of this group. Let me answer this question based on my thesis on women enterprise, because as you mentioned, real life examples make everything more understandable. During the study, my aim was to monitor the current status of women entrepreneurs in the entrepreneurial knowledge ecosystem, to find gaps, to understand their information needs, and to design a customized information network for them that provides a nationwide interactive database along with professional advice. I gathered data with a survey and also had to call for additional information or to encourage women to complete the survey. At the time, I complained about how difficult it was to conduct scientific research. But today, I am happy to have this experience, because in these phone calls, I got very important information that I wouldn't be able to reach in other way. As this is a nationwide study,
Yeah, you are back.
As this is a nationwide study, you should consider that the women expected to answer the survey come from different socioeconomic conditions, have different economic backgrounds, technical skills, and equipment. As you may easily guess, those from bigger cities responded faster, while those from smaller cities with limited technical capability and equipment asked for additional support. Survey was sent by email to their personal accounts, but some of them never use email and asked me to print copies. Some of them directed me their husbands and sons for answers because they have no idea what I was asking about. Finally, I was able to collect completed survey with the help of my relatives from different regions. However, I saw that men benefited from the opportunities offered to women due to inability to reach accurate, timely, and easily accessible information sources and channels. Women were signing legal documents, bank loans, but men had jobs. While signing many documents, they had no knowledge of their legal rights, and I realized once again that doing science is not enough to support women. It is important to share the results of scientific research transparently without limitations. We need to work together with the contributions of all stakeholders, governments, non-governmental organizations, academics, public, ask for needs and meet needs through joint projects. This is the way to democratize everyone's access to knowledge. As we all know, open science is about equality and social justice. It provides equal access to information, and in many countries, it needs more support for women to have equal rights. If we talk about entrepreneurial women, I can easily say that if they are supported by open science practices, they will naturally be visible and productive due to their innate courage, energy, and motivation. If we look at it through the eyes of female scientists, they will be more visible in academia and have the greatest impact on the public interest when they openly share their research outputs, data sets, and research processes. Finally, I want to say that it's a great pleasure to see the calls emphasize on different organizations, commissions, alliances on open science and their support for the realization of open science practices. ELISA is working hard on open science-based strategies, and I am proud to be part of this work. We never forget that access to information is a human right. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to keep what you just before, that doing science is not enough to help women. That was your exact words. We need more than this. We need more than just opening academia to women. Borbala, if you can summarize your gender equity plan, what could you say in a couple of sentences? What should we change in order to make possible for women to find place within academia? And I would like to say not only women, we also want to speak about diversity in general.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maria, for that fine tuning. That is exactly the first thing what I wanted to mention. Yeah, I think that the most important thing I would like to highlight here is that we have to think very small and we have to think big as well when we are trying to define the scope of activities. So for example, it is very important to provide facilities for babies or for changing nappies and stuff like that in the university, or for providing baby care facilities or support by the university. On the other hand, it is also very important to make sure that no implicit bias is happening, for example, in the addressing of the participants of a meeting, or assigning the tasks, for example, the administrative tasks or the tasks with the content, so to say. So we have to think small in concentrating on like little things that happen every day while we are working in committees or in just in our position. And we have to think big as well. We have to take big initiatives that can have the possibility to real mindset change on a big scale in the university. For example, integrating gender aspect in the curricula.
Thank you very much. I keep your points, and I think it's very important, and actually it resonates to what Burku said already. We have to keep in mind both small and big kind of activities and issues that we want to address. So many thanks to both of you. I think it's time to open this up to our audience and give Sofia the floor to wrap up the session and also hear your voices as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you very much, all of you. It's been incredible discussion. So in this second part of the roundtable, while still addressing our guest speakers, we want to boost also your voices, as Maria said, and your participation. I will put two general questions for you, but in the same time, before ending, I will pick comments and questions from the chat also. So to wrap up a bit, I've kept many things. We have been from the individual experience, from some actions, to the need of motivation, the need of new narratives, the network of support, the importance of role models. And to quote Irina, that at the beginning of this roundtable, told us that the optimization of a particular property is due to the interactions and not only to the material itself. This question of gender and the importance in gender in science, from my point of view, is really a systemic one. So we have to identify all the parts of the scope in order to be able to do changes. So my question is in the interconnections. How can EELISA, as an European cooperation alliance of higher education, can play a role in this gender equality topic? I would open now at this moment the question for the panel, and you can take the word in each whenever you want. So maybe Sara, Solen, Borbola, Irina, who would like to address this question first?
Maybe I can be the first.
Yes,
one.
please.
Yeah.
I don't see everyone. So please take the floor.
Okay. As some of you will remember from our first meeting this week, I described myself as a woman who worked to make science open to other women. So I think it's easy to guess my answer to this question by supporting open science practices. I am happy to say that EELISA takes this seriously. I know that open science practices are important part of EELISA's innovation and joint research strategy. EELISA wants to transform research and innovation by defining a common open science strategy and aims connecting researchers, innovators, and non-academic stakeholders and setting up a portfolio of shared scientific infrastructures, fostering and supporting the development of joint research and innovation actions and the creation of new structures, optimizing the outreach and impact of these actions. Be that as it may, to emphasize on open science strategy sits alongside the gender equation plan. In the grant agreement, it's underlined that EELISA seeks to expand its influence over time by creating awareness and recognition for open education, open science, and citizen science among students, scientists, research funders, and entrepreneurs. To do this, there's a dedicated group of professionals working on the EELISA strategic framework for open science applications. The point here is that is not easy to change the culture overnight. We need to work together patiently and believe in ourselves. Despite its challenge, we need to find ways to improve the openness, transparency, and inclusiveness of science. As noted in UNESCO's recommendations, The collaborative and inclusive characteristics of open science allow new actors to be involved in the scientific process, including through citizen science, thereby contributing to the democratization of knowledge, tackling misinformation and disinformation, and addressing systematic inequalities. In this context, I believe that every woman wants to be part of this change in her own sphere of influence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Burcu, and also for advocating for the ELISA role. I now have, I think, Irina or Solen first, sorry, yes. And then Irina and Sarah.
One professor told me once that you should design the pedagogy so as to get the student in a success position. So you may, as a professor, as an academic staff, you may design your course in order to measure the progression of the student from the beginning to the end of the course, or to put him in a fail condition, demonstrating him that he get not the necessary competencies at the end of the course. So I think that if we design a study program, if we design a curriculum to take this pedagogy design into consideration, students should be in a success condition. When they get a mobility, they arrive in a faculty in a university, and the courses are not all the courses in English, for example, and they were selected to be enrolled in these kind of courses. So to think so as to get the student in a success condition, to be satisfied, because I keep in mind the principles of quality management that I'm teaching in our university, to get satisfaction for students and for stakeholders, of course, for employers too. I think that these are the elements that ELISA should be very valuable for the students. If the students are passionate, are satisfied, if they're in a success conditions, if the professors are motivated, if the employers are satisfied with the skills of the students and with the dedication of the students, then we succeed.
Thank you so much, Irina. Solen, do you want to react?
Yeah, of course, I'm not in the research or the academia anymore, but if I may ask, if I may add a little suggestion from the professional world or the alumni network world, we discussed the importance of role models before, and I've seen different networks putting some charter in place, so a kind of commitment for different universities, for example, in the case of ELISA, that could be a thing, to make sure that on every expertise panel you would have at least one woman represented. And I think that's very efficient, but because what we lack is also women in a position of expertise that is on stage and in front of everyone, for on one side men to be able to listen to them, and that it's also one of the comments in the chat, like how do you make men listen to women? And I think when you put a woman in sharing her expertise, that would be also a way for men to recognize that the female talents. And so yeah, that's my point, actually, like to make sure, whether maybe with a charter or maybe with a commitment of university, that female expertise are also put forward as much as male expertise in the science field.
Thank you very much, Solen. And Sarah?
Yeah, so I can completely relate with what you were saying. I just wanted to add my few words on this. So for me in the past, having role models was really increasingly important for making me the engineer and woman that I am now. And also seeing professors and high-level professional researchers or whatever, women that are also mothers, it gives me really more power to go ahead with my studies and with the plan that I have for my life. And to contribute to this, distribution of role models, or I think that we can do things on two main sides. So one is to participate to events like this one, which are more, let's say, high-level, big initiatives. But the other thing is that we should really make an effort to be part in all the commissions, like PhD boards or PhD commissions, or I don't know, university admission exams, because I feel really uncomfortable when I go for an interview and I found behind me, or let's say opposite to me, like few 10 men professors. I'm somehow scared, but having someone that looks like me on the other side, I think that somehow may help me relaxing and doing things like the best that I can. So even though it's really challenging and difficult, because let's say in my university, in the Biorobotics Institute, every time that we have a commission, if there are 3 professors, one has to be a girl. And since we are only 3 women in all the faculty, like every time we have to spend time in doing this, it's stressful, but I think it's really useful to I don't know, to also help the women or the young girls on the other side to see that someone did it, so they can do it too.
Thank you so much. I see that there is resonance with Laura that wants also to make a comment on this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about what Sarah has just said. So you were mentioning that it's important that there are females in the boards for PhD admissions or whatever exam. But for instance, what we see at Scuola Normale is that the biggest gap is not really after the exam, but before, so in the number of applicants. And that doesn't really talk to the number of females and males that are in the board. And so I think that surely that's important, but there's a bigger work that has to be done before the applications, the exams, and at really younger ages, because otherwise there are no females that apply. And even if all of them were successful, even if they are put in the best position during the exam and they feel perfectly comfortable, they are still too few. At least in our field, and I'm speaking of physics, astrophysics is actually luckier among the physics, but still we are very, very few. And I can say the same for maths from my limited experience. And another thing that I wanted to maybe ask your question about is related to the other aspect of putting female members in all the commissions. As you yourself mentioned, when there are very few women in a field, and this is even more severe in physics and, for instance, theoretical physics, and also, I mean, our own field, this means to put a really huge, having the necessity of always having a female member in all the admissions really puts a huge load of work on the few female professors that are there. And I understand that this might be useful, but my question is the amount of work that is put on these few people actually worth the minimum comfort that maybe can result in the feelings of the people that are taking the exam? I mean, shouldn't we maybe more work in, just making more people apply, and also trying to have policies that make sure that whomever is doing the application exam is fair, rather than necessarily putting a woman there?
I agree with you, but I'm questioning myself of what I can do now in my position at this time. I completely agree with you that we should all work together to reach that point, but I'm really pragmatic as an engineer, so I'm saying, okay, what can I do now? I'm the only one, I'm a young assistant professor, so there are not really many things that I can do alone. But I feel that even though this is a really huge effort for me, I feel that I'm doing what is right. It may be completely wrong, but what is right for myself. And so that's why
I think we could keep with that word that you see, I feel alone and I'm trying to do by myself, but I think it's the best.
Yeah.
And if I can step in, the question is how EELISA as a network, how can we work together so that this overload, this work, this responsibility that that's also we feel to help other colleagues in their path could be also shared so that we can work better collectively. So just to close up this question, I have Roman and then Maria, and then I'll go to the next question if you want.
Yes, that's what we are kind of doing now. We are kind of sharing the good strategies we've put on, etc. And I think, yeah, this is one of the major things that could be done. Like I know Laura is creating a program for young girls, and I had the chance to participate in this type of program when I was in high school. So I think it had a high impact on me, but it was super local. Like it was only in the, like in Normandy, so it's a little territory in France. So I think, yeah, making this type of program more global and exchanging good ideas is also, and confronting it to different cultures. Yeah, we all have to gain with this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roman. Maria, to finish up with this question.
Yeah, very briefly, I think there is a solution to the dilemma that Laura and Sarah brought up. We need to hire more women in our departments, right? And then if there are more women in our departments, especially in the departments of physics and engineering departments, then we will not have, we don't have to address this kind of dilemma. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. So before reading some of the questions of the chat, I would have a last question for you. It is regarding these institutional or organization actions that we have planned in the gender plans. What do you think are now the weakest, the strengths and the weaknesses of these plans? How would you imagine and foresee these plans for the next 10 years? Because EELISA is also building its gender and equality plan for innovation and research. And here we have also huge opportunities to do differently. So what are your views in these points? Open questions to the floor, to the panels. Borbala, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that the most important strength of gender equality plans is that they exist. So they serve as a starting point. We have to reflect to the gender equality plan. We have to challenge our behavior, our thoughts, and so the most important issue here, and this also concerns the weakness, is whether the gender equality plan stays as a document or whether it becomes a living attitude changing milestone for the university. And I think that what we can do here as EELISA to reflect a bit upon the earlier question is that to share the practices, how we implement the gender equality plans, because we have a lot of information about how we should set up a gender equality plan and what that gender equality plan should contain. But I think it would be very useful to exchange practices on how to make it work, how to put that all into practice. And from that sense, I would also be happy to share our experiences at the Budapest University of Technology as well. And about the trends, well, I do hope that in 1 or 2 years, such a great discussion will attract at least 50% of men audience, and maybe in like 10 or 20 years, we will not even need gender equality plans because everything will be evident and all these values will be so implemented and so embedded in the university culture. But till then, I think that the most important thing is to make these documents work.
Thank you so much, Borbala, and also for being part of the gender work group that is working with EELISA. So thank you so much. Does anyone has an additional experience or idea to be shared with us before we go to the chat questions? Irina?
What I would like to say is that in our university, what I noticed, more women we are, more work we do. So what is clear is that behind the vice rector man, there are 2-3 women working hard. I think that we should fight for balancing the work too between us women and men, because sincerely, those of us that we are here, it's very clear we have worked hard and we are very committed, all of us. I think that balance of activities when we discuss about gender equality plan may be a hot topic too.
Thank you so much, Irina. I have Sonia and then Laura. Please, Sonia.
Yes, it's in the same way. This is an extra work that we decided to do, participating in these gender plans or even this roundtable, or I mean, this is a women roundtables for most of people as is here are women. So we need more men in this program, in these gender plans, and it is an extra work because we want to get involved in programs for girls, for children, for books, for to be an expert and to be there if there is a radio that calls you to give an opinion and things like that. So, at the university, for example, or the research centers, we want to be in the commissions or committees that are selecting teachers or professors, and I think that we have to be there. We must be there. But this is an extra work for the few women that are in those positions. So, well, but I think that we had to be there, but we had to maintain this excitement that we were talking about, about our work and this effort that we are doing. So,
Agree. Challenge recognized. We have to bring more men to these discussions. Laura, do you want to comment or react?
Yeah, very quickly. I just wanted to say that maybe this topic that was brought up by Irina and Sonia of the load of work speaks also to a psychological issue, which is the fact that being few women, then we all feel the imposter syndrome. This is something that we were also discussing with Roman in the first discussion that we had this week. We feel the imposter syndrome and we always feel like we have to prove ourselves. And this is, I think, is at the basis of why maybe the successful ones of us, not that I necessarily call myself successful, but the successful of us really work very, very hard because we are constantly feeling like we have to prove ourselves, whereas our male colleagues don't feel this necessarily. They don't feel like they have to prove that they are worth, at least not necessarily on average. So maybe what I want to say is just that we also have to think about the psychological effects of all the politics that we're saying or the load of work that we are putting on ourselves and also on others, and also try to always keep in mind the importance of like mental health and work-life balance and all this sort of stuff, which I feel for women is becoming increasingly more difficult to have. That's all.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Just a word is
yes, please, Sonia.
Yes, just the danger of that our model cannot be a superwoman model. I mean, we don't need to do everything and maintain your research career and also be a good cook or an excellent mother. No, I mean, we always want to be that, but if this is the average, this is very, very difficult to maintain everything like that.
I totally agree. I see Maria and then Burku that have raised the hand.
Sonia just said that we cannot do everything alone. And I was thinking one of the points that I want to take with me after the end of this session today is that networking is absolutely important. And I think ELISA offers to us such a very strong female network And we don't need to be alone in the things that we are going to do in the future. So I want to keep this today, and remember this the next time we plan for something. We are thinking of doing a new initiative. So the ELISA network of female professors and students is here. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Maria. I do really believe that together it will be much easier. And Burcu, please.
Just one sentence. I think it's important to make all gender equation plans visible, and it's important to share good practices. That's all.
You're muted. Have you finished, Burcu?
Yeah, just one sentence.
You.
I always say the same thing. Let's share everything. Let's share everything.
The information.
Yes, best practices, plans, everything that we have.
Thank you so much, Burcu.
You are unmuted. Okay.
Now it's good, I think. Thank you so much. I have 4 questions from the audience. The first one comes from Simona Galenari. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And she states, I have a comment about mobility. I changed from 8 cities in 10 years before reaching a long-term position. I strongly believe that mobility is an added value for a research career. But I'm still asking myself, to which extent mobility is a choice / opportunity or an obligation, stumbling block for women in particular? A really good question from the audience. Is there anyone from the panel that wants to take the floor?
I think Irina and Sarah should respond to this.
And then we also have Laura.
I don't have an answer because I'm wondering myself if I was obliged to do this or not. I mean, after doing this and after moving a lot, at the end, I'm happy of what I did, but it's always like that. After you did something, then you're happy because you forgot all the challenges that you had to tackle. So I think that we should be put in a condition in which we can choose what is best for us. And until we are in that condition that we can choose without feeling obligated to do something, then that's okay. I don't know that this does not answer the question, but I don't think that there is really an answer to this. It's a really sharp question. But yeah, I think that there should be, again, the conditions or the infrastructures allowing us to do this kind of things. So just to give some example, there are some international or project or fellowships also funded by the European Commission, sorry, such as, I don't know, the Marie Curie Fellowship or whatever. And the global one asks you to move in another country or another continent during the postdoc, and the fellowship lasts, I don't know, 3-4 years. And usually people win this fellowship at 30 years old or 29 or 31. And it's, again, difficult for, at least I'm talking about myself, it's not really general. So for me, it was really challenging, this choice. So I won a fellowship, but then I said, okay, should I move to Canada for 3 years now, picking up my husband with me, and then, okay, then when can I have children? So all this stuff are in my mind, and there is, again, no one or few people that can answer or can support me in this choice. So having this, again, infrastructure, both physical infrastructure, again, like nursery or whatever, or psychological one, so someone to talk with, that would really help.
Thank you, Sarah. Irina, you wanted to comment also?
What I should say is that mobility allows you to get out of your comfort. This is clear. So if you look to the skills you acquire following these periods, because you face experiences that you couldn't imagine, because you meet other people, because you learn other knowledge, you find a new culture. It's true, sometimes being stable is more comfortable, and maybe it's an easy pathway. But if I go back to what I have done sincerely, I'm looking in my mirror and I reply, it would be not possible. It was a sacrifice in certain moments, but otherwise it was not possible. It should not be possible, because the step after a dedicated period when I focused on something very clear, this is the research on a focused topic with some tangible results at the end, with the time and an energy dedicated there, finally turned in a result, finally turned in skills, and of course, a certain frustration of being at a long way of my family, of my daughter. It's true. But thankfully, we have email, we have internet. 35 years ago, we used to spend with a telephone, I don't know, something around, I remember 100 French francs at that moment. So it's a lot of money just for 5 minutes of talking by phone. So I strongly encourage all the students and all the academics and all the researchers, at least for short periods, to get out of their comfort.
Thank you so much, Irina. Laura, you also want to add a comment to this question?
Yeah, so I'm actually at the younger stage of my career, so I still have to do all this moving, and I'm really looking forward to it. But what maybe we're missing is that I'm in the lucky position of looking forward to it because I'm young. I have a boyfriend, but I mean, we are not. Our life is not set in stone. We don't have a kid. He doesn't have a definite job himself in a specific place. Maybe the question was more for how long and how many difficulties do people face in having to endure movements for a really long time in their career to be able to reach the top positions. And if these difficulties are the same for male and women. And in my personal opinion, which again is not the one of a person who has experienced this yet, maybe there are also some difficulties that are related to how it's socially perceived. So for a woman to follow her husband or I don't know, boyfriend or life partner somewhere because of his job, maybe is still considered more acceptable, whether doing the same thing in the opposite direction. So a husband or male life partner following a woman is not as common and is not as kindly viewed, or even by the person himself that has to do this. So I think that there are surely it's really important to move. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm very excited about it, but this is also because I'm 26. Is it the same when one is, I don't know, 35, 30, when one is thinking of a family or already has a family? I mean, infrastructures are really important, and also like a social discussion about this is really important, as Sarah also was saying before. That's all.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really think, yeah, mobility is really important. Myself, I'm 43 and I just moved with all my family, husband and kids to Madrid. It's possible, of course, but it demands a lot of adaptation. So maybe mobility is an answer, maybe not for all. So what EELISA can do is to open and give more choices of experience, intercultural ones, international ones, but not always going 6 months abroad or going to the other side of the continent. So maybe it is possible, and I do strongly believe that it's possible within the EELISA space also to create these new opportunities in which the balance between the personal life and the professional one does not need for major sacrifice or really in-depth difficult decisions to be taken. So I think this is something that we need to work on for our students and also for our staff and our researchers and academics. And this is possible with the different offers that we want to develop within the different work packages of the project, and of course also always connected to these gender equality plans of each institution, and also on our common GAP program regarding innovation and research. So thank you so much for your questions. This connects me with a second comment, which comes from Lara Teerling, and we already mentioned this a little bit, is the presence of men in these discussions, the importance of also sharing these difficulties and these challenges that we face with men, so that in the system we have to work together in order that this is possible. I don't know if anyone of you want to comment this point. How can we reach out to them is the question. Difficult one.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you.
You're welcome. I think someone told this before, I don't remember who, sorry, but I think it's really about competencies. So when I go to some place and I talk about artificial intelligence for medical image analysis, which is what I'm doing, this is recognized both by men and by women. So somehow I guess that also the title of this project, which is amazing in my opinion, but may have scared the men audience. So women who make science happen. If it's, I don't know if this is something I'm thinking of. I'm sorry if I'm not
thank you
saying something in an ordered way. But if there is a group of men talking about something, whatever it is, it's okay. So it's like, I don't know, it's gender free. So both women and men can attend. But if there's a group of women talking about something, it's like more intimate, like a group of teenage girls that are talking about some secrets, so they feel like they are not welcome. And this is, I don't think that men are not really interested in these topics. Of course, there may be some men that are not interested, but at least in my experience, I've always worked with men and professor researchers, and they were super nice with me as with the others, and they recognize my value as I recognize theirs. So it's really somehow about, I don't know, communication. I'm not really an expert in those fields. I'm not even an expert on gender-related topics. I'm just a woman, but this is my perception.
Thank you, Sarah. I see that Borbala has reacted with a raised hand.
Yeah, thank you for giving the opportunity to react to this. I think that this is a very important question, and in that sense, we have been pretty lucky in our university because the importance of this topic has been taken up by all the male leaders as well. But I think maybe I will not be very popular with this comment. I'm sorry in advance, but I think it will be very important to understand each other because sometimes things that happen that we find inappropriate or we as women are reacting in a sensitive way, which is just logical on our side. Sometimes these happen out of kind of an old-fashioned way of politeness or like male behavior patterns. So sometimes these issues arise on good intentions. I'm not saying that all of them, but I'm saying that some of them. So I would say that we should understand each other, not like men and women, like thinking two different grants, but we should understand what amounts to reaching a level of sensitivity, what amounts to reaching what we deem as kind of inappropriate. Of course, there are very clear-cut situations where we can see, but I think it would be very important to establish this kind of a common ground and understand each other's behavior and change each other's behavior in that organic way. So let's spark discussions about this.
Thank you so much, Borbala, for your comments. We still have one comment, Maria.
I just want to
As
follow up.
I'm reading the comments on the chat, I do not see immediately your hand. So please take the floor.
I just want to follow up on what Borbala just said. And I think the best way to understand each other is for us as women to participate in the central administrative activities of our universities, and not just create our own networks only. These are really important, but we have to get out of our own networks and be on the central stage. And I think this is the answer to many of the issues that have been raised today. So I'm very happy to see that most of you have been doing this and have participating in the central administration and the presidium of your universities. And I think this is the future for us. This is the only way we can open the doors for the younger ones. We can implement all these ideas about creating new infrastructures and offering new facilities for those that come with babies or have different needs. And I don't want to forget that gender is not two things, men and women, but we have a very wide spectrum of what gender means today. So we shouldn't forget issues of diversity here.
Totally agree and support. We have the question that is a common one in terms of the quotas and the importance of having them. Do you want to react quickly before we end our session on this? Because numbers, the gap of women in STEM is still big, and the proposed solutions are often centered in quotas. So do you think this is a solution and a way to go? What are your inputs regarding this, Laura?
Okay, so again, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer to this because I'm still so inexperienced, but my impression, at least for our own field, is that quotas are not really enough because there are really few women to begin with. So even if we were to say, okay, let's take all of them, whomever, and put them in top and administrative positions, still they would be few. And also we still have to keep in mind that it's not just important to have women, but to have capable and like really top researchers that are women at the top. So I think that, again, in my personal opinion, we have to act before that. Quotas are not enough, because if women are few, they're still going to be few, even if we put all of them in the top positions. And also we still have to keep in mind that whichever the gender, whichever, even not just binary male, female, merit is the most important thing. So we have to be able to not have to force all the women in top positions, but to have the possibility to have a lot of really capable and competent women that can actually participate in these things without having to be forced in a priori, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Laura, for this last comment. I'm sorry, but our time is finishing, which brings us again to the importance of diversity and not just gender, but to take this question really in a systemic way and to put our lens into the different perspectives of everything. So just outputs, results is not enough. We have to work on all the chain and all the information chain and the motivation from young girls since the early ages, because differences, and we had some comments also in the chat, come already around the middle school level. How to bring information also to quote Burko, the importance of information in these early years, so that all this diversity can be reached step by step. Thank you so much. It was really an honor for me to share this floor with you. A great pleasure. Thank you for all the interactions and all this level of interaction. I have to say just a word for the audience. We kept the videos to run because this session is being recorded so that we can share it in also the ELISA YouTube channel, so that all the people that wanted to attend but were not able to can do it synchronously. So I'm sorry for this small housekeeping question. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Maria, for co-moderating also with me today. And before leaving, Maria, could you say a word how these spaces of discussion are important? Why should ELISA keep doing this for the network?
If we want to think of the future engineer, I think gender has to be at front and center. This is the only very simple comment. And also, I want to close by saying that this is the beginning and not just a celebratory event. This is a beginning of a series of roundtables and talks, and I'm looking forward to see many of you around when we do this again. So many, many thanks, and special thanks to all those women that are not visible in our screens today, but have been helping a lot all these weeks. Laura, Isabel, Yolanda, I'm sorry if I forget anyone else. Many, many thanks.
I join you in acknowledging the work of the teams. And here our two projects, ELISA, which is funded by Erasmus+, and ELISA InnoCORE, funded by Horizon 20. They joined forces in this gender work group so that this event and roundtable was possible. So thank you very much. It was really an opportunity. We have here, I think, with ELISA, an incredible opportunity to do differently, to join our forces and to do it together. So thank you very much. Stay tuned, check our websites and social media because other moments of discussion will come. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.